Hello, today we're going to be talking about intervals and discussing three specific types of intervals. That's what's listed here if you wanted to take any notes. The first one's an increasing interval. That's an area of positive slope, increasing again going up from left to right. A decreasing interval, which would be an area of negative slope. And then a constant interval. That'd be an area with zero slope, which would be a horizontal line, straight left to right. All right, and then we're also going to talk about relative maximums and minimums. A relative maximum or minimum is a place where the function changes from positive or increasing interval to a negative or decreasing interval, or it switches the opposite way, from negative to positive. Notice there's nothing with constant in there. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an area that switches from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. We'll look at an example. All right, so here's a picture. We've got a graph drawn, and we're going to be looking for four different things. The first thing we're going to look for is, are any increasing intervals. So we're looking for areas of positive slope, and I see this section right in this area right here. Looks like from the arrow all the way up to about the peak right in here. That area there is increasing, and I'd like to know its interval. So we're going to use kind of like set notation. We're going to list on the left-hand side how far it goes. It's an arrow, so it's going to the left to negative infinity. And then I'm going to come down here, and it looks like it's about halfway between negative 2 and negative 3. So I'm going to call it negative 2.5. So anything on the x-axis between negative infinity and negative 2.5 would have an increasing slope in that zone. I don't see any other areas that do that, so I'm going to move on to the next part. Now I'm looking for decreasing intervals, areas of negative slope, and I see two of them. So I want to list theirs. So from that same negative 2.5 spot where it changed back in here, all the way to right about 0, I would say. That's negative in that zone. And then out here on the far right-hand side, that's at 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like everything from negative 4 on the left, and then on the right it's going out to infinity, and that's to the right, so that's positive. That's an area of decreasing slope. All right. Next would be the constant interval. That's an area where it's flat. That's this section right here. All right, and that constant interval, again, starts on the x of 0, and it goes out to where x is 4. All right. Next would be the relative minimum and maximum. Now, that's going to be a place where the graph completely changes from going up to down or from going down to up. All right. So way up here, that spot. The graph was going up, and then it changed directions and goes down. That spot is a relative minimum or maximum. Well, it's the top, so that'd be a maximum. So that means we are going to have a maximum, and it looked like, again, about negative 2.5 and up to about 2. So that's where we have a relative maximum, but that location. Now, this spot right here, where the graph changes on the y-axis from going negative to going constant, that is not a relative minimum or maximum. It has to be a spot where it changes from increasing to decreasing or decreasing to increasing. Same with here, this spot. That spot there also not a relative minimum or maximum because it changed from constant to decreasing. And again, to be a relative min or max, it has to switch from increasing to decreasing. So it's like the peak of a hill or the bottom of a valley. So we don't happen to have a relative minimum anywhere on this one. And part of that's due to the fact we got those arrows pointing down forever as well. So we just don't put one. There isn't a relative max or a minimum in this particular section of the graph that we're looking at. All right, so that's an example of what your work looks like today, finding those four things. I think there's like 10 problems, so it should take a little bit of time today, but these are extremely important topics for both pre-calculus and calculus. All right, good luck.